Last week on Shabbat, I spoke about a little act that I'm not so proud of. One time when I was a little bit mean to someone next to me when I was at Allianz Field on the line at the bar there. I wanted to get to my seat very quickly and I wanted to get there in time for the game to start. And there was a person next to me that looked like they were cutting me off. And I was so stressed to get to the game on time that I lashed out at him. I said something like, who do you think you are doing that? And he said to me, well, you're not online. And as I looked around, I realized he was right. He was online, but I actually wasn't. And I was the one actually doing the wrong. Our Torah actually tells us this week that something similar happens when we get into a mindset of war. The Torah tells us when we go out to war, we have to be extra careful to not do evil, to not do something wrong. Why? Because when we go out to war, we get so single-mindedly connected to our objective and so nervous, maybe frightened, stressed, that we tend to forget to actually do good to others, to care about others. And right now, this country as a whole, we are in a mindset of war right next against the scourge of the COVID-19 pandemic. We are really fighting against this pandemic with all of our might, and everybody is under stress, everybody's under anxiety. We don't exactly know what's gonna happen, where are we gonna go, how bad is this gonna get, but we need to focus and remember that even though we're in this pressured place, we need to guard so much to not hurt somebody else, to not lash out at somebody who's not really acting wrong in the first place. Really, it's just our stress and our anxiety about what's going on. But you might say to me, Rabbi, sometimes people are actually doing wrong in this world. There's real bad happening. I know we disagree, some of us, about how to deal with COVID-19. Some people agree to vaccines, some people don't. And I at least believe that it's wrong not to vaccinate yourself if you can, if you're healthy, if there's no health issues with it. That might actually be seen as a morally wrong thing to do. But on the other hand, I could say that's morally wrong, but I'm not going to lash out against that person. I might say to you, yes, I disagree with what you're doing. I think it's morally wrong. I think it's bad. But I'm not going to dismiss that person completely. And this is actually what our Torah also speaks about in our parsha this week, in Parshat Ki Teitzei. Specifically about the Egyptians. Now, the Egyptians were the worst enemies, some of the worst enemies of the Jewish people. They were oppressed by the Egyptians in slavery, made to do hard work and hard labor. But remember that before the Jewish people were enslaved, they also were taken in by the Egyptians. During the time of famine, Jacob and his family were taken in to eat of the fat of the land in Egypt, and that's actually how we originally got to Egypt, because we were saved really by Egypt. And so the Torah says in the book of Deuteronomy, in Parshat Ki Teitzei, don't dismiss the Egyptians. If they come to live with you, don't throw them out, right? You should be respectful, you should be kind to them, and remember the good that they did, not dismiss the bad that they did, right? We certainly have a holiday dedicated to the bad that the Egyptians did. We call it Passover. But to really specifically remember the good. And I think this is a good model of how we deal with people we disagree with, even when we think are really doing wrong, and we could be really right about that, right? What does it mean to treat that person with both the good and the bad they do? To not completely identify that person with the wrong act they do, but also remember the good that person does, and look at each and every individual as an infinite, whole human being. I also ask that as we now are in the spiritual month of preparation of Elul, as we are going into the holidays and we're looking at ourselves internally, I hope we can have the same patience for ourselves. How do we work to not lash at ourselves when we're feeling this pressure to be better people? Either about something that maybe isn't so wrong, or about something that actually is wrong that we need to work on, but not completely identify ourselves with that wrong thing. So I think about this time we both have to think about other people and how we treat them during times of pressure, during the COVID pandemic, during all the pressures we feel, making sure not to lash out at people wrongfully, to remember the good that people do, not just the bad they do. And also, of course, remember that about ourselves as we go into this period, to treat ourselves as whole people as well. So I hope, Bimhei Rabbi Amenu, may it be speedily that God may help us have patience with ourselves and patience with the people around us, even though we are all certainly at a time of stress, whether spiritually or physically with COVID-19 in the world, that we can have patience with people and see each and every human being as an infinite others. I hope to see you next Shabbat, and you can watch the full sermon at our Temple of Aaron YouTube page. See you next time.